outside of the work atmosphere itself, like we all just became friends and like hung out with each other. So like a weird fact of the show is that we all really love karaoke. So we would go to this place in Koreatown that was like an Egyptian themed karaoke spot and rent out a room and just like sing for 5 hours. Which is really funny because I think traditionally animators are like pretty shy and don't want to be the center of attention. But for whatever reason, karaoke seems to unlock this like beast inside of us all.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another regular show Wiki interview. Today's guest is a storyboard artist for the new series, Regular Show The Lost Tapes, where she has boarded the episodes Blade Games and Good Mitch Spiking. Everybody, please welcome Sam Lane.
Hello.
So, we will start from the very beginning. What initially got you interested in doing animation and kind of made you feel like this is something you wanted to pursue as a career?
Awesome question. I think growing up I was always really into drawing. Like since I was really, really little. I think like in preschool I drew like a drawing of a bus with a bunch of kids in it, and my principal was like, this is not like normal for this age to be drawing this many characters in a single picture. So I think pretty early on I knew that that was what I like to do. And yeah, I think it wasn't until like high school that it started to like crystallize as like a potential career path. I got to go to CISA, which is like this summer art school camp that takes place at Cal Arts, and it's like 4 weeks long, and you sleep there. And it's basically just like college light. And you kind of figure out if you like doing animation. It's like incredibly rigorous and intense and fun too, but it's like it was a lot, and it was kind of a make or break program for a lot of kids. And I really enjoyed it. And I was like, I think this is what I want to do. And I think I want to do it at Cal Arts because, you know, obviously legendary place, and I loved the vibe. So yeah, see, it was really like CISA that helped kind of crystallize that for me. And but I got rejected from Cal Arts the first time I applied, so there was a little bit of a journey there. So the funny thing is that I kind of wasn't allowed to watch cartoons as a kid. There was like this weird moment when I'm like one of three, and so there was like a moment where my mom was like, "This is crazy, and let's just put them in front of the TV." So I watched like cartoons when I was really, really little. And then once I was old enough to have like my own like login for, you know, streaming services, but there's like a whole gap in between where I didn't have any relationship to cartoons at all. And it's funny because my brother was really into regular show, but only because he would like sneak off to his friends' houses and like watch it there. So that was like I kind of knew about regular show when I got hired, but it was really only through my brother, which was funny.
Leading into that, how did you end up getting into the animation industry?
So CalArts has a portfolio day, which is, you know, an extremely useful event because you just leave out your artwork and then a bunch of execs walk through and they, you know, scout you for projects. So I met Ryan Kriego that way, who I think he's at DreamWorks now. But at the time he was making this project at Netflix called I Heart Arlo, and it was like a kids musical. And I got hired as a post-animatic revisionist on that show, which I learned later is kind of like a made-up role that's sort of meant to like train you for the next thing, which is storyboarding or writing or whatever. And it was amazing. Like I got to like see the whole process of storyboarding pan out up to the first cut of an episode. And then my job was to come in after that cut and basically write punch ups and like clean up certain scenes and stuff. So it was very like low pressure, but I got to see the whole thing play out. So it was very much like a learning opportunity. And yeah, it was a great first job. But that was March of 2020, and I was in the office for a grand total of 2 weeks before they sent us home out of an abundance of caution. And they're like, we'll see you at the end of the month when this all blows over. And then I worked out of my bedroom for 5 years, which was crazy.
And so, how did that get you onto doing regular show then?
um, that, okay, well, so I mean, there's a lot of different things that led into that, but essentially, you know, gosh, how did Netflix lead to the next thing? I don't really remember. I think that job ended and I was kind of like piddling around for a little bit, but then I got hired on Jellystone, which is another, it's like a Hanna-Barbera, like Yogi Bear reboot. And Toby was a writer and board artist on that show. And so I think the way that I got hired for regular show was a combination of like Toby had seen my work on Jellystone, and then I had put out the Let's Play Pretend Adult Swim shorts. And so that kind of functioned as like my current like comedy portfolio. And yeah, I actually was in Tokyo and I woke up to an email saying, "Would you like to come in for an interview for regular show?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, that'd be great. I just spent a lot of money on this trip. I would love a job." So I came home and like literally the interview was 2 days later. I was so jet lagged. I was like vibrating on another plane of existence. And I like walk into this big building and, meet JG for the first time and Sean. And I think the interview lasted maybe like 15 minutes. And I don't even remember what we talked about. I don't think any sort of professional questions were asked. They were just like, "Do you know regular show? Like, are you a storyboard artist?" And I was like, "Kinda," and yes. And then I walked out and I was like, "There's absolutely no way I'm getting this job. There's no reason to. They haven't seen my portfolio. They don't know anything about me." And then like I think a couple weeks later, the producer got back to me and was like, "We'd like to offer you the position." And I was like, "What? Thank you." That doesn't make any sense to me, but love it. I will take the job. So it was kind of a funny way to get into something, but that's the way this industry works. It's always like what you least expect, I think. Yeah. So
Did you have to take a storyboard test?
no, there were no tests, which I really appreciated. I mean, they didn't even ask for a formal portfolio, and I think that's true across the board. I think everyone was kind of sourced for work that they had done previously on other shows, and also just like short films and comics. Like everyone is kind of a creator in their own right, which is really awesome. So yeah, it was very low key for a job application. I like literally did not even apply. It was just a 15-minute talk.
And so, like, I mean, obviously, you said your brother was into regular show. Leading up to regular show, like, were you becoming more aware of the show? And then, like, did you go back and rewatch it once you'd got the job?
Yeah, yeah. Once they hired me, I was like, okay, I should probably figure out what this show is. So I think I watched like the first 4 seasons in a week and was just taking notes and like trying to get the vibe of the whole thing. And yeah, but I mean, they kind of just threw us into it. Like we launched on the first day, and they were like, "Go for it." And my partner and I were like, "Okay, I guess we're just gonna figure this out." And I mean, that's kind of yeah, that's what it is. You just go in and you learn the show, and they kind of, I mean, they've done this for years and years at this point, so they know exactly what notes to give that like help sculpt it into more of the tone of the show. And so that was very helpful. But yeah, there's a bit of a learning curve there, which was fun, I would say.
Well, I mean, speaking of your board partner, what was it like working with Bryan?
Great. We spent a whole year in a like 5 by 5 foot cube together. And yeah, I think like we both have like very complementary skill sets, I would say. So like he's really, really good at like action boarding and framing, and like really good at drawing like facial expressions and just very like cartoony like posing and stuff like that. And I mean, with Let's Play Pretend, like I'd spent like a whole summer just like writing jokes essentially. So I came in being like, "I'm the joke man, I'm funny." And so we just like combined that basically. And yeah, I mean, it was really crazy too, because it was my first time, well, two first times, basically. First time working in person since the pandemic happened, and then first time sharing an episode with another board artist in that way. Like I'd been on script-driven shows that where there's a few of us, but we never talk to each other because the script is there and it's not as collaborative. But because this was board driven, we have to be like so communicative the entire time and pitching ideas. And so it was just a whole new experience for me. And I loved it. It was like so refreshing after literally sitting. My desk was in my bedroom. Like there was no separation between waking up and going to work. Like it all happened in the same space. And to like go to a building and talk to other people and like just have this like beautifully tangible experience was so good for me. It was so good for me.
Yeah, I'd say I mean from the original series and then also from speaking to other people like yourself, just like that I've always got the vibe that the team behind the show, it's like a big family dynamic. And so I mean, especially if you'd been working just on like script driven shows, I don't know why that never occurred to me before that like not to say you wouldn't make relationships in those jobs, but that like obviously you are constantly surrounded by other people with a show
Yeah.
like regular show.
Yeah, exactly. And to your point about it having like a family vibe, like I think another like unique aspect of this show is that like half of the team were like original members of the series and then half of us were newbies. And so there was kind of this like pre-baked feeling of like, oh, all these guys are like best friends and they've known each other for years and years and they like basically grew up with each other. And then we're like the new kids on the block, and we've kind of just like joined this pre-existing family and really, I think, bonded pretty quickly. Like we ate lunch together every single day. We have like this carved out area in the on the like Warner Brothers lot that like I wouldn't say we bully other people out of sitting there, but we have a presence that dominates the zone, and it's kind of our our little area. But it's really nice. Like I don't think that's true for every production to eat lunch together every single day, but it definitely created this feeling of like we are friends and we can hang out and also work together, and it's really nice.
Once this interview's done, I think I'm gonna have to go back to every other interview I've done with the board artist to see if anyone has not mentioned lunch at some point.
Yeah, really.
I
That's so
think
fun.
it
I
is
mean,
like the most iconic thing about boarding.
yeah, the lunches are special. We've gotten into so many shenanigans. There's like a hawk that lives on the campus that is meant to like drive away the pigeons and the squirrels and stuff. And so there's like lunches where we hang out with the hawk man and he's like telling us about the hawk. And then there's lunches where like Brian is a big like rock climber, like athlete dude. And there was a day where he like had us do a bunch of exercises and we were all like trying this stuff that we like physically could not do and like falling out of the furniture and popping our joints out of our sockets and stuff. And it's just like, yeah, it's just like a time to decompress. It's very nice.
Well, let's get on to your first episode, which was Blade Games. I think you might have been the first person that I looked at their post about the show coming
Oh,
back,
nice.
and I was like, "Oh, this is." Am I right in thinking that that episode, your parts were done on post-its?
Yes. Yeah. So during, I think that 15-minute interview or for the job, they mentioned that they wanted it to be really like similar process wise to the original run of the show, and that they wanted us to try boarding on paper to see if that would do anything for the creative process. And I was really excited about that. Again, just to like have this like uber like tangible experience. And I was like, let's make it physical. Let's get paper. I love it. And I had like a little lamp and it was all cute feeling and it felt really, really special. There are practical reasons why most shows are not on paper anymore. And we discovered that along the way. I think I was the last holdout of the whole team. I boarded on paper for 6 months. And I had been taking like one-on-one meetings with JG just because I wanted to like know about how the show came to be and, just pick his brains a little bit. And there was a day where I went in and I was like, so how, do you have any like notes for me? Is there anything I could be doing better? And he was like, well, it could be nice if you stopped boarding on paper. And I was like, oh yeah, totally. Yeah. I only tried this because you asked me to. But it was just causing all these like hiccups later down the line because you have to physically scan everything in and then cleaning it up is a whole process. And I was like, yeah, I don't want to create more work for anybody. I will stop doing this. But I thought it was really funny that he was like, please stop boarding on paper.
So specifically with Blade games, yeah, there's just a lot of funny Benson moments. Obviously, I mean, from what we've seen of yours so far, we've had a Benson, we've had a Muscle Man episodes. Um, Benson is personally like one of my favorite characters, so I'm always drawn to any Benson-centered episode. Just kind of, what was it like boarding? Have you got like any stories or fun facts about Blade games?
I mean, Blade Games specifically, that was our first episode. And again, it was on paper, so everything about that episode was a learning experience. But I think what was the most exciting and also terrifying aspect of it was that like we still, even if they're digital, we print out all the boards and we put them on boards and we, point to stuff and act it all out. And again, like having worked out of my room for 5 years and like pitched over Zoom and like never getting like laugh responses. Like literally, I used to download transcripts of the Zoom chats after and try to like locate the timestamp when somebody wrote ha ha and like figure out where that applied in the episode to like what joke I had written. So like pitching live to people that you really admire and are very good at what they do after being isolated for 5 years was like just I mean I was so scared in the beginning like I was nervous but then after a couple of episodes it went away and I was like, oh, this is just fun. Like everyone, you can hear the immediate response or the lack of response, which is a note in itself, like, okay, that joke wasn't funny, let's try another one. um it was just like such a gorgeous community based experience. And I loved that. And I think for like Blade games specifically, there's like, so I boarded the first half of that episode and we were having a lot of fun with like the pointing out of like the letters that she's like doing the tapes and she's like assigning a letter to every part of her like catchphrase. And I'd like come up with that whole bit. And I think pitching that for the first time was a very fun, like, oh, this is so amazing that like I can, of course we're following the outline and there's tons of jokes in there already. But then there's so much more room to like add on top of that and that they embrace that and they are excited about that. And everyone will laugh and then it's in the episode. Yeah, I think just realizing in the first episode, like how exciting that was for this show specifically and like really just coming to terms with the fact that I had become part of something very special. Like there was this sense, I think, in the first few episodes watching people pitch where we were all like, is this gonna work? I think this is gonna work. Like this all feels really funny and like good. Like maybe we're doing something here. I don't know. um so it was really special, really, really special in the first few episodes.
Obviously, in the original series, there's like a running gag of Benson's car getting destroyed. I think he had it worse. The worst he's ever had it in Blade games.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and that's an example of a scene that JG just had dreamed perfectly already in his mind. Like he came in and he was like, okay, so they're gonna take the knife and then they're go choo choo, and then they're gonna take the thing and go shoo, and then they're gonna take this and go whoo, doo, 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 doo. And he just like acted the whole thing out with sound effects. And Bryan was like, okay, got it, got it, got it. Yeah, that's what's happening. Cool, cool. So that was a very like direct, like he had a vision for that specific scene, and I think it turned out so funny. But yeah.
Some of the early Joan Crandon videos, I feel like there's some jokes there which maybe might not have made it 10 years ago. Like there's a joke about workplace harassment, and then there's her just kind of popping her head over the like toilet door while her
Yes.
employees sat on the toilet.
Yeah.
Um, it's so great. My one complaint I think about that episode is we should have had way more Joan Crandon. I would pay just for just a full spin-off. Um,
Yeah.
give us those VHS tapes.
Yeah, from your mouth to God's ears.
Well, let's move on to the other episode you did that has come out so far. Good Mitch Spiking. So obviously, Muscle Man episode. And one thing I really loved is just like how much continuity this kind of fed through from the original series as well.
Yeah.
Um, like if you would have told me 10 years ago, one day we were going to get basically a backstory on Starla's tattoos. And also there's the coffee bean and the translator popping up, which I really loved. So yeah, just kind of what are your memories of Good Mitch Spiking?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, there's a lot of like kind of deep cut lore in that one. And I think, I mean, obviously all the writers wrote it together, but like Toby really served as like this living archive of every episode where like we would board something out and be like, Toby, has this happened already? Or Toby, does this make sense with what already exists? And he'd be like, well, in season 5, episode 7. Like he has this encyclopedic knowledge of the show that really came into use very frequently. Especially for an episode like that that had a lot of like kind of lore based jokes in it, that was very helpful to have in the room. But yeah, that one was our second one, and I think that one was an interesting one because it was a more emotional episode. Like the first Blade Games is so rompy; it's a very classic episode of regular show, and then the immediate follow up was like, okay, we're getting into like Muscle Man's emotional side and like questioning his life purpose. Enjoy, have fun, new board artists. And you're like, whoa, I guess we gotta learn Muscle Man's psychology real fast. So it was a funny like second assignment. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, we watched a lot of volleyball content for that. The research aspect of these episodes is always, I think, a lot of fun. There's just like always a lot of deep cut like 80s films that we are asked to watch, and a mixture of commercials and silly character concepts, and yeah, I don't know. Gosh, I'm trying to remember more, but uh yeah, but that was another one that I did on paper, and I had the action half for that episode. And whenever there's a note on like an action scene and it's on paper, you're like, oh, now I gotta redraw. Even if it's like the most simple thing, like change the background, where in Storyboard Pro you'd just be like copy paste the whole way through. Like I would just have to redraw every single post-it. And those were the days where I was like, maybe computers are better, as much as I love the paper.
So did you do the second half of that episode then?
Yeah, yeah. Yep.
Muscle Man constantly just repeating, "What is my purpose?" And it kind of gives its own monologue. I know when the episode came out, we did like the quotes. We do quotes for every episode, as I'm sure you've seen. And I know for that, it was just like as soon as I saw the episode, I was like, right, I'm just gonna write the entire thing he's saying as it just as its own slide. And so the majority of the post, I think, is just the words, and then the image is really small. Um, because like, yeah, this is just Muscle Man going on about what his purpose is.
Oh, I just remembered another kind of silly story about that episode specifically, which is I think there's like a scene where Muscle Man and Diggs are like in the sand and they're half buried, and like Diggs's feet are sticking out. And this was a very funny notes session where basically JG was like, the way that Diggs's feet are poking out of the sand is like anatomically impossible. Can you please make it so that it's more realistic the way that the toes are poking out? And then the immediate next note was, and when the talking dolphin serves the volleyball, can it fly off the face of the earth, wrap around space once, and then land back in the sand? And I was like, okay, this sounds good. It's magical realism at its finest.
I feel like it's quite a genius joke in the episode where at the beginning he says, "I'm 26 years old with my whole life behind me," and you're like, "Oh, that's funny because he's acting like a 26-year-old who thinks he has his whole life behind him." But then you find
Mhm.
out at the end, oh no, he does have his whole life behind him because he's dead.
Yes, yes. Yeah, whenever we can add little jokes like that, I think it's a fun process too, because like throughout the whole thing, like the joke pitches never stop. Like at every phase of the process, someone's always adding in like an extra thing. So that one might have been like pre-written into the outline, or it might have come later and you see an opening and you're like, oh yeah, let's make a callback to like the fact that the guy is dead.
I have often campaigned that should we ever get more regular show merch, we get like a Margaret or an Eileen plush.
Yeah, yeah.
I think just push them to the side for a second. What we need is a Dan Diggs.
Yes. Preferably life-size cardboard cutout.
Are there any sort of cut jokes or scenes from your episodes that have been cut due to like time or S&P?
I mean, yeah, there's always cut stuff. I mean, if you want to go back to the Joan Crandon stuff, like that, it's the 80s joke is actually like a second pitch on the original joke, which was, I think like, the character's like, can't like hugs be considered workplace harassment? And she's like, don't get ahead of yourself. That's in my next tape, getting harassed by Joan Crandon. And I guess that one didn't fly. I don't remember exactly why, but yeah, I think it's the 80s works very well, unfortunately as well. But yeah, I can't remember anything else specifically. But it's always a process of like things coming back in and having to tailor stuff. I mean, I think like the main note always is legal having to make sure that like certain business names don't already exist so that we don't get like sued by real life people. So that's always a process. Yeah.
What are some of your favorite episodes? Obviously, in terms of things you've boarded, right now you can only talk about two of them. Um, but also, like, what are some of your favorite episodes that other people have done as well?
Oh gosh. I mean, they're so good. I think like I mean, Skip's Luau was the first like kind of freestanding episode that was boarded and because obviously the pilot sets up like this whole like story that's going to happen and yeah, so Skip's Luau was kind of like a return to like the romp the style of the show and I remember watching Maddie and Ryan pitch that and just like laughing so hard. And the first few episodes we actually pitched to Sam Register, who's like one of the heads of Cartoon Network, and so there's like this added layer of like, is Sam laughing? Is Sam laughing? And just like watching like a room of execs and all the board artists and JG, like everyone in the same room laughing at an episode. Like that one just sticks out in my mind as being really special. And I remember texting Ryan after and being like, that was really amazing. You did a really great job. And him texting me and being like, you're doing a good job as well. And it was like this very sweet, like heart to heart. And again, yeah, just like understanding that I joined something special, like, and then of course seeing them all come back is amazing. I still haven't seen all of them because I don't have YouTube TV. So my memories of them all are kind of just based on like initial board pitches, but that one just sticks out as like the special, like the show's starting and it's good.
And any from the original series?
Yeah, I mean, so my brother sort of served as like the guidance counselor for what episodes to watch. And I was like, what are some of your favorites? And I think he is it Limousine Lunchtime? Is that the name of it? I can't remember if that's the title. But he was like, that one's really funny. And to help all the new board artists get acquainted with the show, they gave us full access to all of the scans of the boards of the original series. So I dug up that one and printed it out because I was like, I want to see the physical thing. Like, let's get into it. And just watching, I think there's a scene where there's like a coliseum and a limousine comes in and then has to do like a 3-point turn like in the coliseum to get out or something. And I was like, that is so genius. I love that joke. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's like, yeah, there's obviously great episodes throughout. But I think it's more just like specific joke moments that stick out to me. That's just like, ugh, this is so silly, truly silly stuff.
I mean, that's another thing on just like with the old post-its. I think a reason why that's also somewhat nostalgic for me is a few of the boards of the old series were posted online. So it was always great to get to see them. And I think in a way, I don't know, like part of me almost prefers like watching animatics to actually watching
Yeah.
the finished product, just because it obviously it feels a lot more organic because you're seeing the raw drawings.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, it feels really magical. You get to see like the beginnings of something, and then, yeah, the final product is very polished and looks great, but the human quality exists in the boards and in the animatic.
So speaking of favorites, what about some favorite characters? Again, like I've mentioned, you've done Benson episode and Muscle Man episode. I'm sure you've boarded other centric characters like coming up. But who are some of your favorite characters to board for?
I mean, I think in the beginning, I was like, I love Pops. He's my favorite. He's so like innocent and silly in a way that I just really connected to immediately. But it's interesting. It's like, I think working on any show, like you develop your own like weird relationship with the character as it goes, and you feel a connection to certain ones over time. And the more time you spend with one, the more you understand them more, and then you move on to another one. And so I think at this point, I kind of love them all, but I think Rigby does really stand out as well. Just like, I mean, honestly, he does sort of remind me of my brother a little bit of just this more like scrappy, like punk attitude, and he's got so much joie de vivre. I think like he just loves life, and and doing what he wants, and he follows his bliss, and I don't know. I just think he's a cool. He seems wise in a way that I don't think he gets enough credit for.
I regret wearing this Mordecai hat now. I should have worn my Rigby hat,
Nice, nice.
but it is too hot, and I've worn that for two interviews, and I don't think I'm going to wear it again because it's
That's
summer.
fair.
We can't
Yeah.
be. I can't be wearing basic glorified beanies.
That's amazing though. You're swagged out. I gotta get some merch.
And I mean, kind of just closing off on favorites. Have you got any favorite memories of your time at the show aside from the lunch?
I mean, yeah, the lunch, epic lunch. I mean, I think like, I mean, the show itself, I mean, the crew pitches are always special, but I think like outside of the work atmosphere itself, like we all just became friends and like hung out with each other. So like a weird fact of the show is that we all really love karaoke. So we would go to this place in Koreatown that was like an Egyptian themed karaoke spot and rent out a room and just like sing for 5 hours, which is really funny because I think traditionally animators are like pretty shy and don't want to be the center of attention. But for whatever reason, karaoke seems to unlock this like beast inside of us all. So karaoke nights are really special. And I think yeah, we haven't done one in a really long time. But yeah, what else? I'm trying to think. Uh, yeah, it's just a really pleasant atmosphere overall. I'm probably going to think of all of the memories as soon as this interview is over. But uh, yeah, I'll let you know if anything else comes to mind. But
Well, I'd like to know. Obviously, every storyboard artist brings a bit of their own personality into the show.
Mhm.
So, what do you think that you bring to regular show?
um, I interesting question. I think like something I really love to do, that I think has been sort of assigned to me is like the thing that I do is that I like taking the more underdeveloped like side characters that appear and like giving them their own life. I think like right before the show started, I was watching a ton of Robert Altman films and especially The Long Goodbye. There's such a like sense of like there are no side characters. Each character has its own entire world and they bring whatever their weird quirk is to every single scene. And I think specifically like there's the kiosk security guard in The Long Goodbye, who like does like an impression of a comedian every time somebody drives through, and it has nothing to do with the story, but the guy's just like I'm the funny like impression dude and I'm gonna do an impression every time. And I just was like, that's genius. Like, it's so much funnier when you just have all these people bringing their own like weird worldviews into a scene. So I think like with Joan Crandon, that was the first time where I was like, I'm gonna just give this a try. Like, let's give her like her own weird energy to bring into this thing and like add jokes that weren't written in yet and like see how much of a character we can build out of this. And it ended up working like really well. And so that kind of became my MO with every episode is like, which character is in this episode that hasn't been given like enough of a spotlight yet? And like, what weird problem can I give them that they are wrestling with throughout this scene that will make them funnier than they were already, and it's fun. It's a really fun assignment just to I think like the way to like heighten the comedy of anything or even just like the tension of a scene is like you just add one element that is sort of at odds with everything else that is happening and it just like the opposites the what is it what a word I'm looking for like just the fact that it's at odds with other things makes it more interesting, I think, and fun. So that's been my goal, I think, throughout. So that's what I try to bring.
Well, I'd like to know who were some of your biggest inspirations for doing the type of work that you do?
I think I mean it's funny again, like I didn't grow up with cartoons really, so most of the stuff I watch is like live action drama, which doesn't really apply to any of this other than just like, looking for cinematic shots that will enhance like the comedy of a silly scene. But I think as I focused more in on comedy, like a show that we were all really talking about a lot was 30 Rock and just the rate of joke making in that show. And I think it was Ryan I was talking to, and we were just like, if we can attain even a fraction of the amount of jokes in that amount of time, like we will be succeeding. Because I mean, it's just genius. Like literally every word that comes out of somebody's mouth in 30 Rock is a joke or there's a visual thing happening while they're saying something else or the scene itself is funny like it is so dense and that is incredibly difficult to do I think like I don't know. I mean, I think some people think that like comedy's easier because it's just telling a joke. Like you just got to be funny. It's super easy. But like when you are sitting down and like actually trying to write a joke, it is a totally different process from just like being like off the cuff funny. You have to make yourself laugh in a vacuum, which is like a real trick. You're just sitting there by yourself, and of course, you can like pitch stuff back and forth, but at the end of the day, like it's coming up by itself, and you are just trusting that it will be funny. And so yeah, so I think 30 Rock was a big one. Just anything involving Tina Fey. I think like Wet Hot American Summer, I just rewatched that and I was like, this is a perfect example, I think, of like sort of regular show tone of like it's like very realistic, but it's like this heightened silliness on top of it. Gosh, there's so many great things like that. Yeah, Meet the Parents, I think, is another good one. I mean, the genius of regular shows comedy is in like having these super elevated stakes, but still drawing it back always to like the most realistic execution of those stakes. So like, like Benson's car getting chopped up in Blade games happens in the most realistic manner. I mean, I think there's one shot where a guy has a sword that he brings down, and that's the most ridiculous thing that happens in that whole scene. Everything else is so like you could just do on a normal car, like entirely feasible. And that's why it's so funny, like so I think like we were always just looking for references of stuff where it's like, yeah, heightened situation, super realistic execution. That's where the joke making is.
So, for anybody out there who's watching this who maybe wants to become a storyboard artist or just work in the animation industry, what sort of advice would you want to give to them?
I think, make sure you know what you want to do is the biggest thing. Like for a while, I was like, I could be an animator or I could do character design or I could do boards. I don't know. I'll just put it all out there and someone will hire me. But it's actually very difficult for people to hire you if you aren't specifically requesting a job. And so putting yourself out there as a storyboard artist or putting yourself out there as a character designer just makes it very clear, like, oh, okay, this person wants to do this job. I have that job. I will give it to them. That's the easiest piece of advice I have. But I think also like if you want to be on like a board driven show or be a writer or whatever, like making short films is the best possible thing to be doing. And that is, I think, 60% why I got this job is because I made a bunch of shorts that just showed that I can make all the decisions necessary for being on a board driven show. It's your calling card. It's your own style. It shows who you are as a person. Like, just, yeah, make your own shorts.
Well, unfortunately, we are coming towards the end of the interview, but before I let you go, I'd just like to ask, have you got anything that's come out recently or that might be coming up that you'd like to promote?
No, no shorts or anything. But what I will say, and I'm just pitching my big dream right now, is that I want to like find a way to get like independent funding to make like a bunch of shorts from like different people and like maybe start a little animation studio. My real dream is that I want to buy, there's like this huge like Moroccan style building down the road that is owned by Sparklets. And I want to buy it from them because it would be like this cool like Moroccan palace that I could turn into a studio and then have like screenings and stuff in the parking lot. So that's my like moonshot goal. Is I need a lot of money. So if anyone watching this has billions of dollars that they don't need to make back, please give them to me. I will buy the Sparklets building. I will get 5 people to make the next generation of animated cartoons that will uh, become legacies. That's my
That
humble
will
goal.
define animation
Yeah,
for generations.
exactly. It'll be easy.
And well, if there are any investors out there or just people who would like to see what you've also been doing, where can people find you on social media?
I'm on Instagram under Sam Lane Art, lane like a traffic lane. And then all of my smalls are on the Adult Swim YouTube, and I have a website that is samlaneart.com. Uh, and yeah, that's about it.
Well, Sam, thank you very much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much. This was really fun.
Thank you once again to Sam Lane for joining us for this interview. If you'd like to see more of her work, then don't forget to follow her across social media at Sam Lane Art. All of her links will be in the description. Next time, we will be speaking to Jill Calhoun, an editor who edited a large number of episodes from the original series spanning from season 3 to season 8. Here's a preview.
I remember when the show ended, when it was coming to an end, I said to my best friend, I'm really going to miss Mordecai and Rigby. And my friend said to me, Jill, you know they're not real, right? I'm like, but they are. Like, I've been living in their world.